Imagine that you're coding some thin qualitative data, the kind of data that you might get from a qualitative question on a online mixed methods questionnaire. And imagine that you're coding that in Excel. And you want to know both how many codes you've got and the quantity of data in each of those codes. Let's have a play and show you how you can do that. But before we do, I just want to say very clearly that, of course, many qualitative researchers are not interested at all in the quantity of qualitative data they have, and that is absolutely totally fine. But if you do need to answer that question, let's just play around and show you on Excel how you can do that. So this is a cut down spreadsheet, okay? It's deliberately not showing a lot of data. All we've got here in column E is the coding or category column. And if we just select the column and scroll down, you can see that we've got over 130, I think, items of data. All right, fair enough, but that's 130 different cells. What's the summary of what is going on in there? Here is how you would do that in Excel. When you start playing around with Excel, you're often on the home bar. The commands we need are under the data bar, and particularly under the filter command. I also don't want the results to appear on this sheet, so I've got a new sheet here called summary, and I want the results to start appearing in this column A under cell 1. The command we're interested in is the advanced filter. So we click on that, and it gives us a number of options. We don't want to filter the list in place. We want to copy to another location. When you click that, it opens up copy to and says cell A1 there, which is what we want. We then need to pick our list. What is the thing we want to filter? So we click this and then can go anywhere. We go back to main. We highlight all of column E by highlighting the column there and clicking the left mouse button. And then this is all starting to take place. We want to copy to another location. We've got the list sorted. We know where it's being copied to. And then importantly, what we also want to do is click unique records only. We don't just want to copy all of the data across. We just want to copy across unique records only. So then we cross our fingers, we click OK, and here we have a summary, a filter of the list from the main sheet in column E. Now, what is interesting, if you cast your eyes over that list, is that you will see that even though we've got 15 rows of data, there's actually quite a lot of repetition. If you look at rows 3 and 4, and if you look at rows 8 and 9, you will see that they kind of look the same as each other. I will explain in a minute why that is. But before we do, let's just get some quantitative data on the material that we filtered. A great way to do that in Excel is just by using the counts command. So if I just select B2 here, and then I type in equals and counts, you start to see all the different count commands. We're not going to go through all of those. The one we want is COUNTIF. So if I hit COUNTIF is about counting the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. That is what we want. So we double click that. And then first of all, we pick the range. Now our range is column E over here from the main sheet, but then we need to give it our criteria. Our criteria is the cell next to it, cell A2. And so if we then just close the brackets and hit return, we find out that there are 17 instances of that data on the previous sheet. What we can then easily do is just copy, Control and C, that cell, drag it down and paste it, Control V, and we find out each of the counts for each of the cells in column A. Now we can go back to what I was pointing out earlier, these slightly confusing bits of data here where we seem to have the same cell content being mentioned twice. And what you'll notice is that this appears 9 times, this only appears once. And strangely, accidentally, this also appears 9 times and this appears once. And it's like, well, what is going on there? What can often happen when you are playing around with material in Excel is that you can accidentally put additional capital letters in or spaces in or some kind of small slip of the finger that means that as far as Excel is concerned, it is a different piece of data. So let's just have a look at that here. If we look at this first one, giving psychology away, all looks pretty normal. Let's just look at the next one, move our cursor back up. Oh, look at that. I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but there's an additional space there. Okay, and so as far as Excel is concerned, that is an entirely different piece of data. Let's do it again with irrelevant to mental health. Irrelevant to mental health looks pretty normal, 9 of those. The next one down, do we have the same thing? We have exactly the same thing. So because of the way this has been coded, someone's been typing in the possible codes or categories, they've added in a different space. And because of that, Excel is showing that as a different category. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can deal with that. There's an Excel command called trim that you can use, which actually is all about getting rid of additional spaces at the end. That's not what we're going to use in this video, but just be aware that there are different ways, often in Excel, of doing the same thing. Let's just go back to the original data. And we're dealing here with giving psychology away. And there's a simple tip here. Generally speaking, what will always happen is this has been sorted because of the way that we've been playing around with this data before, so that you kind of know that the first two are going to look the same way. And generally speaking, what you can always do is nip down to the bottom one because that will look slightly different. If you have already sorted this data, that is always going to happen. Excel's going to put the different one at the end. So you can see that additional space, and you can just get rid of it. And then similarly, we can pop down to irrelevant to mental health. This one hasn't got the space. We predict that all of these other ones are exactly the same. We get down to the bottom one, and then we find the one with the space, and we delete it. Now, if we go back to summary, delete everything we've done so far, including adding in those colors. Let's repeat the process again and see if we get a cleaner set of results. So again, we go to data, and then we go to advanced. Again, we are copying to a different location. That's exactly where we want it to be. We pick our list, we go back to main, we select all of column E. It's all taking place there. We want unique records only. We hit OK. Notice that now giving psychology away and irrelevant to mental health only have one. If we then do the count again, and remember it's COUNTIF, and then ask for the range, we go back, we select E, we put in our criteria, which is A2 to begin with, we add the bracket, we hit return, we copy and paste that down, and we find that whereas before we had 9s and 1s, we now have 10s. And that is how you can filter and add up your codes if you're doing thin qualitative analysis using Excel. I hope that's helpful.